Most companies think they're doing well in AI because they show up. But here's the problem. You can appear in most AI answers and still lose almost every decision that matters. That's the illusion. And it's misleading a lot of teams right now. Hey, I'm Mark Huntley, founder and CEO of LLM Authority Index. At LLM Authority Index, we spend a lot of time analyzing how AI platforms actually rank, compare, and recommend companies in real decision scenarios. And what we keep seeing is this. Visibility is being treated like performance when it's often just noise. Right now, most of the market is using a very simple model. If our brand shows up in AI, we're winning. That logic comes from traditional search, social, PR, where more visibility usually meant more opportunity. And on the surface, it still sounds right. You appear in ChatGPT, you show up in Gemini, you're mentioned across prompts, so it feels like progress. But AI doesn't work like a list of links. It doesn't just expose options. It organizes them, it interprets them, and more importantly, it prioritizes them. So the real question isn't, are we visible? It's, are we being positioned as the best choice? Here's where most AI visibility thinking breaks down. It compresses everything into one idea, presence, but presence has layers, and those layers are not equal. At the lowest level, you're just mentioned. Maybe you're listed, maybe you're referenced once. That tells you almost nothing about influence. At the next level, you're considered. The AI explains what you do, it compares you better, but still not decisive. At the highest level, you're recommended. You're first, you're framed as the best fit. You're the default choice. That's where decisions happen. That's where revenue happens. And most companies, they celebrate being mentioned while losing the recommendation. Let's make this real. Imagine a high intent prompt. What's the best payroll software for a small business? Now say your brand appears in most answers. Sounds good. But when you look closer, you're third or fourth. You're barely described. Another company is clearly positioned as the best option. So yes, you're visible, but you're not being chosen. That's the gap most dashboards miss. They count presence, but ignore preference. So what should you actually care about? Not just, do we show up? But how often are we recommended? That changes everything. Now you're measuring how often you're first, how often you're in the top 3, how often you're framed as the best fit, how often you're favored over competitors. At LLM Authority Index, one of the patterns we see repeatedly is that companies can look strong in visibility metrics while consistently losing recommendation position. And that gap is where strategy should focus. Because AI discovery isn't just exposure anymore, it's selection. This shift matters more than most teams realize. Because AI compresses the decision process. Users don't scan 10 options anymore. They trust the structure of the answer. They assume the order reflects relevance. They focus on the first recommendation. So if you're not near the top, you're not just slightly worse. You're often ignored. That means you can be visible across the market and still lose every high intent moment that matters. And if your reporting doesn't show that, you're flying blind. So here's the bottom line. A mention is not a win, it's just an event. A recommendation is a position, and that position determines whether you get chosen. If you're measuring AI visibility without understanding ranking, framing, and high intent prompts, you're not measuring performance. You're measuring comfort, and those are not the same thing. If you want to understand how AI is actually positioning your company in real buyer conversations, where you're being recommended, where competitors are outranking you, and what that means commercially, that's exactly what we analyze at LLM Authority Index.